Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartia, and my next guest is Brandon Lum, CNCF Security TAG Co-Chair. Brandon, it's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Swapnil, great to be here.
We are going to talk about the CNCF micro survey and also to get some updates on the security tag. But before we go there, I want to understand from your perspective what kind of when we look at cloud native security is different from traditional IT. In most cases, it's not seen as an afterthought, but companies are still trying to catch up. They have not just all moved to DevSecOps or SREs. So what are you seeing in reality versus what we try to send the message out?
Yeah, so like you said, cloud native security isn't just, taking whatever you have, putting it in Kubernetes and putting it in containers and calling it a day, right? And I think really integrally, it's changing how we do things, right? We have the whole shift left, the idea of security controls at every step, authenticating zero trust, attesting everything at every step. It's kind of changed the behavior of how we do things. And I think the reality is a lot of, as you see from the micro survey also, right, that companies are recognizing that this is an issue, that they have to modernize their security. We can't do like looking at just like endpoint security, right? Because now we have so many microservices, we have so many endpoints, some management that doesn't scale. So we definitely see that folks are recognizing the need for this. There is a lot of tooling out there. I would say maybe sometimes a little bit too much tooling, and it can be very overwhelming. And we've seen some, a lot of early adopters that have done this successfully. But I would say that there is still, we are still in the stage where we are slowly integrating, we're slowly being able to, not only use these tools together with the legacy tools that we've started off with.
Is security in production now or still in the phase where companies are talking about it, they're discussing about it, but it has not moved into the phase where they can say, you know what, our workload is secure? Well, first of all, there's nothing secure, right?
Yeah, so like you said, like there's nothing that's secure, right? I think it comes down to risk management, figuring out what is important to me as an organization. Am I securing what are the crown jewels to me? I think most organizations, at least the ones that have practiced security before, recognize that mentality of thought and are able to execute this within the modern cognitive framework. Um, we do, however, see there being a gap between like some companies that are able to do this versus also like looking at auditors and like assessment security assessment companies that may not necessarily be that comfortable or have the right tools to map compliance requirements to cloud native technologies and methodologies. And because of that, we kind of see like a little bit of resistance in the adoption of cloud native security. But that's something that we are continuously working on. Education is a big part. We have a lot of work with security controls mapping in the group. It is a collective effort, and hopefully maybe another year or two. There's been a lot of focus on security now, so hopefully.
When you're talking about it, and it struck me was that when we look at security, like actually like many other things, there's two aspects. One is technology and one is people. There are already technology, there are already tools in places. I think it's the people part, social part, cultural part, which is kind of holding back. You touched upon that. So, what are you doing for the cultural aspect? Because you folks have all the technologies out there. You can bring a horse to the lake, but you cannot force them to drink water. So, what are you going to do to encourage them to drink water of security?
So I think that there are two parts of this. One is like general education. So the group we've worked on white papers to kind of explain what cognitive security is, even delve into um, more specific topics like supply chain security, policy. And so that's one aspect of it. I think another aspect is to really engage directly with the projects. So we have a effort called Security Pals, where we have folks from the group um, kind of like be a security mentor for a project, right? So to really get the mentality in, get it into your day to day from the start. Secure defaults from the start. Have a security process and reporting process from the start. And finally, there is the organizational kind of push to this, right? So organizations making cloud native security a priority, redefining, and we've seen this, right? We went from developers to and operations folks to now DevOps, right? And um, we have also an effort where we kind of try and define these things and try and get organizations like up to speed that now you don't have developers in silos, you don't have operations in silos, you have this kind of like combined role and it's a shared responsibility. And there are even more than just developers and operations changes, right? We go from having an administrator being in charge of the entire cluster and entire all the workloads in the cluster to now we see there's something called a cloud platform operator that really manages the creation of the clusters and the infrastructure, which is spawn all the infrastructure as code stuff. And then we have the administrators that just look at the workload. So, getting up to date, getting organizations to start adopting all these different security constructs.
Of course, we are here at KubeCon, and you folks also did a survey to better understand the security landscape. Can you talk about what were the either key highlights or takeaway? What did you learn from that survey?
I think we learned that a lot of people think that security is important. They want to do security. However, we see in the challenges that there is a lack of expertise. And that's really driving, the or limiting the ability for these organizations to actually create the change. Right? We see that everyone wants to do modernization of security, but not that many people actually have it within their roadmap to actually integrate this into their systems. And in fact, like 12% of the respondents said that they had no plans at all. So I think we still have this gap of expertise. Open source obviously helps this because, we are building common tooling as a group. And because of the common tooling, we are going to have talent that basically knows the same technology and the same operations over the different stacks.
Earlier, we were talking about some of the challenges that are there for organizations, but if I ask you, it could be either based on this survey or it could be based on your own experience and feedback and interacting with folks. What are the challenges that you see people face, and of course, how is your team at CNCF trying to address those?
So I think that the challenges that we see the most really are folks that don't really know where to start, right? They go into the security organization and they really are lost at, they read the cloud native security white paper and they're like, there's so many things I have to do. Where do I start, right? And to address this, we're creating this thing called the cloud native security map. The first version is already up. It is an interactive way to navigate the cloud native security white paper to see what's important to you and then to kind of focus in those areas. We're introducing this idea of a guided tour, right? We want to define, okay, if we want to say supply chain security, image provenance, runtime security, detecting anomalies, compliance. And the idea here is that we want to have folks come and say, okay, supply chain security is important to me. What do I do? And they go through this guided tour to kind of provide context around these specific areas, say, focus on these first, start building them out, and then they can then go down the list, pick a new area, and look at that.
Linux Foundation or CNCF, you folks also run a lot of educational programs, certification program, educational program. Is there anything you are doing, especially for security? Because as you mentioned, that one of the most important aspect that you have to look at is education there. So anything in agenda or pipeline, anything that you can talk at this point?
So I know folks in our group have worked together and we collaborated with the Kubernetes security group, and then we helped form the CKP certification, which is security certification it's a Kubernetes certification program. And I think we would we will engage more with that. And I think that, security assessments, getting folks into the community. We are a very fast growing community, and we always encourage others that are not necessarily security focus related to come in, give us some perspective and also grow and learn about security at the same time.
Brandon, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about the micro survey, the challenges that are there, and what your team at CNCF is doing to help these users. And I would love to talk to you again. So I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Neil. Thanks, Katie.